All right, I've got 7 o'clock. I'm not sure about everyone else, but if you're not early, you're late. So welcome to our regularly scheduled meeting of council for the month of June. If you're able, please rise for the, Canada, please. Okay, so the first order of business is to tell you why I'm in this chair tonight. So this first motion is moved by Councillor Reid, seconded by Councillor Tamlin, that whereas Mayor Greg Davidson has submitted his regrets through the clerk to the council for his absence at tonight's council meeting, and whereas procedural bylaw number 2001-064, being a bylaw to provide a framework governing the proceedings of council meetings for the Township of Mapleton, Section 3.0 provides that council shall by resolution appoint a councillor as mayor pro temp in the event the head of council is absent. Now therefore be it resolved that Councillor Michael Martin be appointed mayor pro temp in the absence of Mayor Davidson. Any questions on that? All right, all those in favor? That's carried. So I'm going to stumble through this, but first off, obviously Mayor Davidson's not here. On behalf of council and staff, we'd just like to offer our condolences as the mayor and his family are dealing with a death in the family, so that's why he's not here tonight. Any declaration of pecuniary interest before we start? And if council will indulge, if I can reorder this agenda right away. Item 15.2 is the Mapleton Senior of the Year. And we're happy to have Dennis Craven with us tonight and a whack of his family. So each June, in honor of Seniors Month in Ontario, Mapleton Council selects a senior to be recognized for his or her contributions to the Township of Mapleton. This year, we have selected someone who is no stranger to the council chambers, Dennis Craven. Dennis and Elizabeth Craven, who have been married for 53 years and have 3 children, moved to Moorfield in 1971. At the time, Dennis was an ROP inspector. For those non-dairy folks, ROP stands for Rate of Production. Elizabeth had secured a position as a teacher at the Rothsay Public School, so Moorfield seemed like a convenient central location to settle. It turns out that this is one of the best decisions they made, and they found Moorfield to be a welcoming community from day one, and so happily settled there. It might be easier to list the organizations that Dennis has not been involved with during his lifetime, rather than listing all of the organizations, clubs, and nonprofit groups he has supported over the years. When Dennis decides to give back to the community, he fully commits to doing so. He served on Mapleton Council for more than 25 years, was also a volunteer firefighter for almost 30 years. He has been involved in sports organizations, lastly as umpire? as well as the Optimist Club at local district and even at the international level. He has contributed many hours sitting on the boards of the PMD Arena, Crime Stoppers, and the Palmerston and District Hospital, just to name a few. And on a personal note, Dennis, your thoughtful and patient demeanor around this table was a real asset to all of us, and I certainly learned a lot from you, sharing the time on council with you. It's hard to quantify in a few paragraphs the impact of a lifetime of work, the impact of the work of a lifetime, but it's easy to say that Dennis has made life better for all the residents who call the township of Mapleton home. Dennis, if you want to, are you able to, or we can come back there, we have a certificate of, for you. Are you able to stand? You tell me, what's easiest for you? And before all of council joins you, I don't have a microphone for you, but you want to say a few words?
Yeah, I've been practicing this speech for the last couple weeks since I told you this was going to happen. This speech is directed at anybody that's here. I know a lot of people that are here, most people that are here, councilors included. Not very good at speech, just maybe. So my speech tonight is 2 words. Thank you. But that thank you is extended to everybody here, staff, former councilors, and so on, but especially to my family. I spent a lot of days, a lot of nights, a lot of weekends away from home. Sometimes I wonder if that's the way my family really wanted it, I'm sure. But they were very good, supported me all the way, and thank you for that. I want to introduce them back in the corner here, back in the head, back to Paul, our oldest son. Up here in front is our daughter Pam, and at the back, beside Paul, is our youngest son Brad. Second oldest grandson Clayton, oldest granddaughter Daphne, and the daughter Pam, which is somewhere they're big years. Our youngest second youngest grandson Ty will be with us. He's a ball game in this whole night. And I kind of told him that going to the ball game was more important than the episode. So anyway, I just want to say that it's been a real honor to be in Citizen of the Year, and I hope that I've done a lot for you.
So much.
I just could say one more thing. Yeah. Mike said that he was a lot from me. Maybe that's part of the reason I quit, because I didn't know any more teaching.
Or you got tired of it. Okay, the second presentation we have tonight, I didn't know I'm going to be sitting in this chair when this athletic bursary presentation was going to happen. So it's kind of a test as well. Ty said if he has to speak, he's not doing it. So Ty, why don't you join us up at the podium there, right in front of you? Because you mumble. So hit that little button in front of you. So Ty, tonight this is an athletic bursary. Can you tell us what your team achievement this year was that qualifies you for a bursary from the township?
We won OMHAs in Whitby and came second in OHS in New Liskard.
And what's OHFs?
Like Ontario Hockey Federation, which is the 6 best teams in Ontario, all try and win.
Very good. So good team accomplishment. What was your coach's name this year?
Dave Weiss,
Dave Weiss. And what team did you play for?
Woolwich Wildcats,
And what age group?
U13. A.
It's almost like we practiced this. What about your brother? What team accomplishments did they have this year?
Nothing.
Who's your brother's coach?
You.
But we all had fun. So, Council, if you'll join me again in the front, we'll do this little. All right, so now we're all out of money. If anybody else came looking for money, you have to join us in July. All right, proceeding on to the confirmation of minutes. Moved by Councillor Reid, seconded by Councillor Ottens, that the minutes of the Township of Mapleton Council meeting held on May 28th, 2024 be confirmed as circulated in the agenda. Any comments or questions? Call it to question. All those in favor? Okay, that's carried. Moving on to matters under the Planning Act. Did I read this first or last? Last it is. All right. Okay, this is a public meeting under the Planning Act to hear comments from the public and agencies and to give consideration to an application ZBA 2024-09 for proposed zoning bylaw amendment. The subject lands are located at West Part Lot 15, Concession 14, 73433 Wellington Road 7. The purpose and effect is to rezone the subject lands to permit a contractor's business on a reduced agricultural lot. The business is currently operating and is located in an existing 2-story accessory structure that has a total floor area of approximately 7,000 square feet. The rezoning will also consider the number of off-site employees, outside storage, and possible MDS deficiencies. We will now receive information from the clerk regarding statutory requirements.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Staff can confirm that property owners, Mapleton staff, and agencies were provided with the required notice by prepaid first-class mail on May 16th. There's a summary of comments included in the report. Proper on-site postings were completed May 17th. GRCA comments, source water comments, and County of Wellington planners are in the agenda package. And the County of Wellington roads comments were no concerns. We did have one late submission this afternoon from a neighbor, the Roy Sinks at 7432 Wellington Road, so that would be right next door. Their comment was, to whom it may concern, we agree. If this does not affect our limits to our buildings currently and in the future, as well as our farm operation. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. Mapleton planner Linda Redmond, comments?
Thank you. So this, my report currently is just for a public meeting for information purposes. It's very basic. I just wanted to provide the general information on the proposal for council's consideration tonight and just to have a discussion moving forward. At this point, I just want to point out a couple items. The property is located in the prime agricultural area. It is zoned agricultural. It's a reduced lot, and it's designated agricultural. The proposal is, I've indicated that the building is for 7,000 square feet of floor area because when we pre-consulted with the landowner, he indicated to us that the business also occupies the second level of the building. So that floor area has to be included as part of the business should this go forward with an amendment. So that's why I've indicated it 7,000 square feet. We can refine that further should this be approved by council to ensure we get the exact square footage. The other matter is MDS, and MDS is applicable to this rezoning in terms of the surrounding livestock facilities. We will be required to do MDS calculations to see if there's any impact on those barns and whether this property is located within those arcs. Once we do the calculations, we haven't received any of the MDS forms yet from the farmers, so we don't know. I did speak to that landowner across the road this morning, and he did indicate to me that he's going to provide me with the farm data forms for his barn, and he said, as he said in his email, he doesn't have a concern with the use as long as his barn and his opportunity to expand in the future is not compromised. So that was what he had indicated verbally. The other matter I'd like to point out is that there is some background to this file. As you see in my report, it was before the Committee of Adjustment in 2019 to build this structure. They wanted to build a building that was larger than what the bylaw would allow as an accessory building. They were asking for a 5,000 square foot building, and at the time that this was before the committee, during the public meeting or the hearing, we became aware of the fact that they were going to potentially locate a business in this building. So the committee deferred the application and indicated to the landowner at the time that that would require a zone amendment, that the committee can't deal with a land use change. Only the size was all they could deal with, and that it was a council application to change the use. So following that, the owners went before council with a zone amendment application to allow a contractor's yard in this building. It did not receive support from staff. It did not meet provincial policy legislation, and council subsequently denied that application. Because the Committee of Adjustment application was still open, the applicants decided to go back to the committee with that application. They amended it to reduce the size of the building to 4,000 square feet and went forward with it as simply an accessory building to the residential use. And the committee approved it, conditional that it remain for residential use and not used for any kind of business or commercial enterprise. And then the next year in 2020, owners wanted to add on like a porch feature to the property or to the building, and the building official of the day felt that that was adding on floor area and indicated a further minor variance would be necessary. So they came back for that application and the committee approved it. So there's the background. And then it's now before the committee or council again because a complaint was received that there was in fact a business being operated out of this building. So in order to bring it into compliance, there's two matters that need to be addressed. One is that the zoning needs to be changed to allow a contractor's business, And also, there is a building order on the property that the building has to be brought into conformity as a business, built as a business, as opposed to an accessory building. So that won't happen until the zoning is addressed. Hence why it's before the committee, before council for that matter right now. So that's all I have to say at this point in time, and I'm happy to answer any questions once everybody's made their presentations.
Thank you, Linda. Are the owners, John and Marlene Hurst, here? Do you have any further comments or explanations regarding this application? Go ahead. You're welcome to take the, well, there's a microphone at the podium there if you don't mind. Just hit the button there in front of you and it should go red. Thank you.
Yeah, it's red. Okay, Mr. Mayor, members of council, my name is Bob Black, and I'm with RBA Planning Consultants Limited in Elmira. And I have been retained by John and Marlene Horst to process a site-specific zoning bylaw to allow a building contractor's business to locate in an existing building located on his property at 7433 Wellington Road 7. Linda Redmond's information report has described the rezoning proposal quite accurately and the process used to establish the existing two-story, 650 square meter, 700 square foot building. In addition, the report in figures 2 and 3 in the council's package, they are aerial and street views of the property and the building configuration and lot layout. This demonstrates how the buildings fit well into the rural character of the agricultural area and the surrounding agricultural community. The County of Wellington planning comments from Jessica Rayam rely on the list of permitted uses in section 2.3.3 of the provincial policy statement, which includes agricultural uses, agricultural related uses, and on-farm diversified uses. The county's position is that this use does not support agriculture per se and should be located in an urban settlement. The PPS goes on in section 2.3, agriculture recognizes in section 2361 and in section 4.33C of the county official plan that there may be certain circumstances where non-agricultural uses like the one being proposed may in fact be permitted in prime agricultural areas subject to meeting certain criteria. The criteria includes that, 1, the land does not comprise of a specialty crop area. Secondly, the proposed use complies with MDS. Third, that there is an identified need in the planning horizon for this use. And 4, alternative locations have been evaluated. Quickly then, reviewing the criteria. The first one, the land is not a specialty crop area where tender fruits are grown and soil is like that found in the Holland Marsh. Secondly, the MDS was not required for a building permit. However, it is being requested to consider a change of use. And as I understand it, that was the difference. The building didn't require MDS at the time a permit was issued, but it does now for a change of use for an industrial use. The farm data sheets have been delivered to surrounding farm owners to fill out and sign and submit these sheets to the township to calculate the MDS. Thirdly, the question of need is demonstrated in the amount of new housing units, which is approximately 1,500 units required by 2051, I should say, that are required to meet the expected population increase projected for Mapleton. Alternative locations in Drayton, Moorfield, and the South Tivydale area have been reviewed and found that planning applications may in fact be required to change the zoning. It's our understanding that the township is out of industrial land and has asked the county to add more land to the Drayton Industrial Park, which in turn will remove prime agricultural land out of production. This is significant because the location of this use in an existing building will not remove prime agricultural land out of production and not in any way impact the surrounding agricultural operations whatsoever. As it relates to alternative locations, after my presentation comments, John Horst would like to speak briefly about the issue of alternative locations. Prime agricultural areas permit agricultural uses, single detached homes, and secondary uses including home businesses. Secondary uses are defined as or means uses secondary to the principal use of the property, including home occupations and home industries. And in addition to that, uses that produce value-added agricultural products from the farm operation. In this application, the single detached home on this lot is the principal use, and the contractor's business is a secondary use established as and regulated by Section 6.4.4, home businesses in the township zoning bylaw. A site-specific zoning bylaw has been submitted with this application and provides the specific zone provisions to approximately recognize this use, similar to other site-specific zoning amendments that have been approved throughout this township. In closing, it's our submission that there is an opportunity under Section 2361 of the PPS and Section 433C of the County Official Plan, being non-agricultural uses in prime agricultural areas, to adequately consider this proposal, since it will not take any agricultural land out of production. It is a use that is compatible with and does not affect surrounding agricultural operations. There is a demonstrated need for the use. It is compatible with and fits into the rural agricultural community, and it is a use that can be regulated and controlled through site plan control and site-specific zoning bylaw provisions. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, member of council. Those are my submissions. Before John speaks, if there are any questions, I'll do my best to answer them. Okay.
We'll get to that in just a second, Mr. Black. Thank you for that report. That's probably as detailed a report as I've seen on a zoning amendment. So, Mr. Hurst, do you have a couple of words?
As an introduction, we are John and Marlene Horst. We started our current construction business, JM Building Contractors, in 2015 while living on a small lot in the town of Floreal. Due to the support of many customers in the community and the surrounding areas, we have been building homes and or outdoor living spaces for homeowners. And we have also contributed to the agricultural building economy. Our business is now in operation at our current residence on Wellington Road 7. From our perspective as a business owner and operator, we feel it makes economic sense to utilize our 3.8 acre property where we live with our family to accommodate secondary use or a home business on the lot. We have operated this business at this location since 2017, and to my knowledge, there has never been a formal written complaint about our business operation. Our proposed zoning bylaw amendment does not take any land out of agriculture production, and it is compatible with and does not affect the surrounding agricultural operations. I have no objection to the applicable development fee charges, nor for the township to apply the same tax rate to this use as the municipality does in the settlement areas. Being a small business, it is not practical, nor do I feel that it is economically feasible to relocate this business to the urban area. I feel that allowing this use on our property and having it regulated by a site-specific zoning bylaw would be sufficient to protect the agricultural community and allow surrounding agricultural operations to continue interrupted as they are now. To show support of this from neighboring farmers, they have provided signed letters stating that they have no objection to the business use on this existing severed lot. I think this concludes of my comments, and I believe there might be others here at the public meeting that may want to make some comments on that. Thank you.
Thank you, John. You're stealing my thunder. That's the next section coming up, so.
What's that?
Other people commenting at you. You're one step ahead of me. But thank you for that. Are there comments from those in attendance?
Yes.
Please indicate so and state your name and address for the, sorry, I just got a spiel I got to get through. Please indicate so and state your name and address for the record. We will first hear from those, you're up here anyway, so support or against?
Support.
In support of the zoning amendment, and then we will hear presentations from those opposed. The applicant may then respond to any concerns presented. Please.
Hello, my name is Angela Becker. I recently moved to Drayton 3 years ago, bought a home down on River Run, so 95 River Run Road. Many of you, I'm sure, have drove past our house. It's my dream home, and I have John to thank for that. John and his crew took a home that was very dated, and the staircase was not safe on the front, and we had a handyman special deck on the back. John took our ideas along with his architectural designer and his team and created an oasis for us. Not only do we have an amazing curb appeal, but we also now have one of our neighbors who loved it so much having John's team build that for them. I will recommend and support John and Marlene and their team to operate in their current property, as I would never want to lose them from our community. They have been valuable assets to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Angela. Anyone else to speak in support?
Yes, good evening, everyone. My name is Clayton Shantz. I'm a neighbor to John. My family and I own and operate Shantz Farm Equipment, so we're just a few hundred meters west of his location across County Road 7. I'm just here to offer a couple of quick words of support for John and Marlene. We, as a business, don't have any concerns or objections to what's being proposed here. And John's always been an excellent neighbor. I actually really look up to John. We've used him a few times to update a few of our existing buildings. And I've always been impressed with the quality of work and his professionalism. And I think anybody that knows him or has dealt with him would say the same. He's certainly a valued member of our local community and has a lot of respect out there. So just wanted to mention that, and that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else to speak in support?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Javen Martin. I live at 7451 Wellington Row 7. I own and operate a 95-acre dairy farm immediately west of John Hurst property. I came to show my support tonight for him and to say that I'm aware of John's business that will be inside the existing building. And as a neighboring farming operation, I have no objection to the use, nor will it affect or interfere with my farming operation at all. Thank you.
Thank you, Javen. Anyone else speak in support? Anyone opposed to this application? Going once. All right, are there any questions from council to the applicant or to our planner? Councilor Ottens?
Thank you.
Thanks. Sorry.
I guess I have no, qualms about the quality of this business. I'm sure it's good. I think my main concern here is the deception about what was going on. People here are saying that different projects were happening. You said you were already working in this business in 2017, but if I look at this background, it says in 2020 that you indicated that the building was only for accessory use and not a business. So I'm just wondering how that seems intentionally deceptive, and I just wonder how you expect us to deal with that going forward.
John, you're welcome to take the mic again. Just tap that button in front of you again.
On that, we had, it was during our minor variance application that it was mentioned that it would only be for the personal use in the building, and for that minor variance, I had, it was a lawyer that was doing the paperwork for us at that time. And she was at the meeting, and she was the one that the question was asked at the meeting, is it going to remain as personal use? And she made the comment that, yes, it will, but she was fully knowing it will not. So I do feel I need to apologize for that it went that way, that she made that comment, because she did know it's not for that, is why it was stated that way.
Thank you, John. Any other comments from council?
Through your mayor to our planner. I guess my question is from here. So knowing that this zoning amendment was denied back in 2019, that we've been running this business from paperwork 2017, since 2015 the business started, but 2017 is when we actually saw them move to Mapleton. And having this tax rate probably being taxed as ag. I guess two questions. One is there fines in place for not having this amendment done then and running this business till now? And then secondly, what would the tax implications be?
Thank you. So there's no fines from a planning perspective. From a taxation perspective, I don't know, but what will happen is it will be reassessed through MPAC once, if the application is approved, and then at that time, the new tax rate will be implemented, but I don't know. That's all I know. Oh, Michelle knows more about the fines, so I'm going to hand it over to her.
Sorry, thank you through you, acting mayor. So yes, if council approves it, then whatever it gets approved at, MPAC is notified, and then they will do a reassessment, and the furthest they can go back is 3 years, but it sounds like roughly it's been 2 and a bit, so that part would be recovered. Again, it was not built or designed for the current use that it is under, so a change of use permit needs to happen to bring it up to conformity, and we have penalties that way, through the building permit process to do a second review, but that would be assessed by the building department. But there, again, nothing else for us.
Another question, Councilor Reid?
Through you to our building department. I'm just wondering if you can tell me if you've been on site and what implications you see for this application being changed, and if there's any fire issue with that big of a building doing what they do out there on Wellington 7.
Through you, Acting Mayor. So there will be, so the change of use permit will be applied at that point, pending the approved zoning. And then at that point, we will, it will be a F2, medium industrial building, which will trigger some fire water requirements if it's over 600 square meters in building footprint. And then the fees and charges will be reviewed at that time, and the building permit fee will be doubled for the associated change of use. Thanks.
Thank you, Tim. Any other questions? Mine's kind of a question, kind of a comment. I don't know which I'll lead with first. When I have a stroke and die and go to heaven, it's going to be because of accessory structure applications. They really seem to be like the bane of our existence. They, as I'm sure you can appreciate, you know, when accessory structures get built, the structure's up, and then the use that gets determined, I mean, they always come in as personal use, and then inevitably they morph, and I think if you, first of all, I appreciate your apology. You know, it's, you know, the credibility of applications are something that we take pretty seriously here. It's built on a relationship of trust, and, you know, the building department bylaw isn't out there driving around policing what buildings aren't, and what uses they have and don't. So it is, you know, you've probably been able to detect a little bit of frustration up here simply because of the colorful nature of the application since it started back in 2017, 2019, you know, from the Committee of Adjustment right on through up to the last zoning application with us. You know, there's a set of guidelines, a set of rules that we kind of collectively decide on, best practice, where we want, what types of businesses, you know, kind of for the development and the sprawl of the community. It's designed to be productive and well thought out. You know, you've got people here, obviously, that are supporting you and clearly love your work. It sounds like you do great work. It's not about your business, right, and the work that you do. It's about the appropriateness of the location, right? And it really feels, again, feels like this was probably the intent all along, and you kind of indicated that it probably was when the building was constructed. And so now the dilemma is, now that the building's up, what do we do with it, right? It's a heck of a lot of space for personal use, right? It's definitely, it's a beautiful building. It looks like the building itself is great for your business. It's really just the location. And what we do with you, we want to do with everyone, right? So that's the dilemma that we have up here. I guess my real question will be, John, is, you know, what is your plan moving forward here, based on whatever the planning decision is from council, if it's supported, if it's not supported? What would your plans be? Do you have contingencies? Do you have secondary plans in mind? What would be your thoughts on that? Sorry, that was a bit of a soapbox. I'm absolutely not trying to embarrass you. This is not the first time this type of application has come before council, so don't take it personally at all. It's just, it frustrates us when we have a good plan in place, or we feel is a good plan in place and planning support for it. So please, what sort of secondary plans would you have?
As far as for the secondary plans, I assume you're referring to if this gets turned down, moving forward to what do we do then? Not too far thought out of that. I did mention it's not practical for a business our size to move to the settlement areas. So the next in line to practical would be, the way I read the bylaws, then possibly it would be, there would be some provisions to have a home industry on a 25-acre property or farm, prime agricultural, to some degree that would be possible to do. So I don't know if that would be the next step to look at that as a possibility. The next question then comes to my mind, if that gets mentioned, that is the next possibility, then so rather than taking another, let's say 2 acres out of that 25-acre hobby farm, having it zoned to the appropriate zoning to allow for our business there. And I think there might also be a clause there to have a certain amount of farming happening, maybe. Not quite sure on that. So then the next question comes to me on going down that path. I don't feel that I would need to be a farmer in order to have a home industry. So more than that, I did not really search out for second options. Kind of forget now again what other path you had gone down on.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. I think, again, it kind of puts you on the spot, right? So that was really my question. Councillor Reid?
Sorry, John, just another question through you, Mayor. How many employees do you have on site? And is there actual building going on there, or is it just like a storage facility for your building business?
Okay, last call. Any more questions from council? Linda, I know this is just a report that we're receiving for information. Do you need guidance moving from here, or what are your expectations of this planning meeting? Just that this is the planning meeting and we receive information, then you'll bring back another report?
Yeah, I'll bring back another report with a more detailed policy framework and a recommendation. And I will also need the MDS calculations from the surrounding livestock facilities to determine if there is an MDS issue as well, because that plays a big role in the policy framework.
Okay, thank you. Would all interested persons attending please provide their full name, address, and postal code to be recorded by the Planning and Development Manager? Is that a thing, or is that just a...
So we normally have a sign-in sheet that's available at the front. We did record the name, so basically anybody who's interested in receiving information, it is a zoning amendment. All the members who were in attendance, as long as we know how to contact them, but there's nothing else to be circulated.
Scratch that, then I didn't say anything. Did you have something else, John?
There was a comment made, I believe it might have been Linda, that there has been a complaint about our business operating there. And then I made the comment that I'm not aware of any formal written complaint. And tonight in this meeting, there was no written complaint read off. There was nobody with a complaint, so I'm just asking the question, where is that complaint? Is it somewhere, or was it just mentioned just noting the degree of the complaint is what I'm doing.
Okay, so question around the complaint? Brown?
Thank you. So yes, we do not have anything formal in writing, but the complaint was brought to us verbally with an article in not a newspaper, a magazine where there was a 2-page ad for the gentleman's construction business was brought forward to us. So we have a magazine in writing, but just confirming that it absolutely was clearly not for personal use. So that's how it was brought to our attention, and we investigated.
Okay, thank you. Good enough explanation? Okay. All right, so the public meeting is now concluded. Thank you all for your time and for attending. Do you have a resolution to go along with this? Moved by Councillor Otten, seconded by Councillor Reed, that the Township of Mapleton Council receive for information the planning report regarding ZBA 2024-09-09 regarding J&M Hearst, West Part Lot 15, Concession 14 of the former Township Appeal, 7433 Wellington Road 7. Any questions on that resolution? All those in favor? That's carried. All right, moving on to delegations. We are joined tonight by Hemson Consulting. Read this first, right? Moved by Councillor Reed, seconded by Councillor Ottens, that the Township of Mapleton Council receive for information the delegation of Hemson Consulting, Stefan, I'm going to butcher your name, sorry pal, Associate Partner, and Daniela, the consultant, regarding Mapleton's 2024 Development Charges Background Study and the Draft Development Charges Bylaw. My apologies on, there's Zs and Cs in there. That's hard to pronounce. 4.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of council. Today I will be presenting. My name is Danielle Tivoli. I'm a consultant with Hemson Consulting. We have been retained to undertake the new development charges background study and associated bylaw. We have presented to council twice previously on this matter, on February 27th and on March 19th. And on March 19th, we were able to pass a resolution expressing the intent to maintain the service level for Parks and Recreation, just for some previous background. Are we able to put the presentation on the screen to follow along? Thank you. I think this one's just the study. I think we included for a presentation alongside this is the study.
Let's check. We'll just see if we can find
Okay,
it.
thank
In the agenda itself, we have the 120-page PDF, like that's this one, and then the bylaw accompanying it, so.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I believe I sent the presentation to the clerk, but I can provide another copy if necessary.
75. Looks like to me.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I will provide a copy
Sure.
once more. Apologies.
So the CIO is going to just fire it out here. So we'll have a copy of it. You have a copy there as well? Okay.
Sorry, through you, would you prefer it on a USB or would you prefer it to be emailed? What would be more? You- Okay.
I promise you're next, Ray.
Unless they're just
You know what, Ray? Why don't, are you good to go now? About 5 minutes or so? Does that work? Does that work, Danielle? Just while we're getting you set up and squared away?
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Okay, skipping along to 7.2, Ray Cooper from Moorfield regarding the, sorry? Cooper? Oh, I should have known that. Regarding the request to change the Sunday gun hunting bylaw. I'm going to read the resolution real quick. Moved by Councillor Otten, seconded by Councillor Reed. The Township of Mapleton Council received for information the delegation of Ray Cooper regarding a request to change Mapleton's Sunday gun hunting bylaw. Ray, please. You set that button in front of you there, and then I'll go.
Honorable Acting Mike Martin, Mayor Mike Martin, that's a nice ring to it. Councilors, yeah, so I'm here to advocate on Sunday gun hunting. I like to note that I also brought with me Dave Mendeller, I think I pronounced that right, Dave? Close enough, from Ontario Federation of Anglers Hunters, so you can probably say I came here loaded for bear, pardon the pun. Nobody got that, it's fine. So Sunday gun hunting, some of the misperceptions of that is, I got some bullet points here. As of right now, 90% of Ontario, give or take a few percent, is already allowing Sunday gun hunting. This past spring, our neighboring township, Minto, has allowed Sunday gun hunting. Hunting is one of the most safest sports in Canada. It amounts to 0.001% of all sporting accidents. The highest being football is 5%, and those are actual statistics. With the sport of hunting, gun and bow, there is hunter safety courses, so we're all well educated on how to use them and discharge them. Discharging firearms is actually permitted on Sundays, just not at animals for some reason. If you have land that you own or have permission on, you can target practice all day long. You can unload hundreds of bullets into a target at the back of the back 40, again, at area that you're permitted on. You can do that all Sunday long, but for some reason you can't hunt. So whether you are hunting, hiking, ATVing, whatever you may be doing at the back of farmland or in the bush, you have to have permission. Hunting on farmland or in the bush on a Sunday opposed to a Saturday or a Wednesday does not make it any more or less safe. It merely makes no difference whatsoever. Hunting is just another sport, as far as I'm concerned. It's no different than playing soccer, baseball, or hockey on a Sunday. Some of the points begin with hunting itself is wildlife management is something that is what the Ontario Federation of Angler Hunters really advocate for too, is wildlife management, which can save on the farmers' crops, reduce car accidents with deer collisions and whatnot. When it comes to hunters themselves, a lot of hunters can have reduced vacations. So to add one more day per se to the deer hunt for a hunter to their vacation, that would, if they only have the weekends off, that would be a great benefit for them as well. Just some points to make. It's to clarify, hunting, let's talk about deer. You cannot hunt or shoot deer 365 days a year. There's 1 week that we have shotgun hunt, 1 week, Monday to Saturday. If Sunday gun hunting were allowed, it would add 1 day, not 2. It would be Monday to Sunday, only 1 day. As of right now, hunting with a bow on Sundays is allowed. If you're hunting deer, again, for example, the season for deer is from first week of October. It pauses for 1 week in November for shotgun. It opens back up to December, pauses again for 1 week in December for the black powder hunt. It continues again till just after Christmas. During that time of, other than those two weeks I mentioned, while bow hunting season is on for deer, it is 7 days a week. And again, only on areas and farms and bushes that is permitted by landowners, of course. Those are basically all the points that I have. Again, if you have any questions, and I've also brought Dave with me here. He's the expert on almost all of it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ray. Any questions for the delegation from council? Comment? Sure.
Thank you, through you, Mayor Pro Temp. Yeah, this came up as Ray and I were discussing things socially, and I said, well, why don't you bring it back to council, because this came up, how many years ago? 6, 7, 6?
I was going to say 10, but
Yeah, sure. 2016, thank you. So it's been 8 years, and we voted it down then, but I've thought about, I'm not a hunter, I'm not a fan of it, not a fan of guns, it's not my thing, but I respect people's desire to do that, especially wanting a deer. And the more you talk to people, the more you learn about it, and the more you understand that, as you said, you only get 1 weekend a year where you can do that, and if you want to put a deer in the freezer, it adds, if you're working all week, that gives you 2 days instead of 1 to do that. So I appreciate the request and bringing it back, and so I would change my attitude on this from our previous vote.
Thank you, Councillor Ottens. Any other comments, questions for the delegate? Yeah, Dave? Sure.
Thanks, Mayor, Councillor. Yeah, I'm just here to help support Ray in his endeavor. And as one point that Ray sort of missed out on is a lot of people's perceptions of hunters go back 40, 50 years, bunch of guys out hunting and then going out for a few beers after. The largest demographic that has now started hunting is women, believe it or not. It's a huge demographic, huge industry. And part of the reason for that is the Sunday gun hunting as well, because now it's become more of a family sport. It's not just the guys going out on a Saturday or for a week trip up north somewhere. And also the interest in the local deer hunt is part of that. So now there's actually families that are going out hunting together, and allowing for a Sunday hunt is also going to allow just more families to get out together, and, you know, just like camping or fishing or whatever, it's just another sport that they can all partake in. So, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any further questions from Councillor Tamlin?
Through then. Yeah, I'm not sure if you could answer this question as well. I just wanted to get a sense of the historical context of that ban on the Sundays. Because when we consider bigger decisions like this, I know it's one day, which can justify the decision in either direction of it being maybe not that significant, but when there's only 1 week in the year, I can see that as well. You can see there are a number of communities that still have that in place, and a whole bunch, like you said, almost 90% that don't. How did that come into being, and how does that stand right now? Because we have to think of the community as a whole. Thanks.
Yeah, I've got a letter here I think Ray has passed along as well from the Ontario Federation of Angler Hunters. The OFAH is 100,000 members, and the zone that I represent is 22,000 members, which basically goes from Windsor to Milton up as far as here, like this part of Ontario, southwestern, I guess you'd call it. The Sunday gun hunting started in 2005, and previous to that, the only place you could Sunday gun hunt was north of the French River, right? Anything south of the French River was only 6 days a week. So this whole thing started in 2005, and since I was 67 townships partook the first year, and at this point we're 190 townships that are partaking in the Sunday gun hunting. And we're adding a couple every. There's only a few left that we're advocating for, and seem to be winning the battle on that front. And I think the reason we're winning the battle is some of the communities that were sort of, you know, had their feet stuck and waiting, have been watching other communities and townships to see what's happened. And I think the track record's been very good, so. Did that answer your question, or?
Not quite.
Okay.
Just trying to get the sense of the context of why that was even in place to start with. Was it a religious consideration? Like, why was that?
Yeah, I think the whole thing stems back to the Sunday was the family day, the religious thing, same as Sunday shopping, I guess, right? When people started realizing that we're not a 9-to-5, Monday to Friday world anymore. You know, more people are working different days and whatever. So we just had to allow for more opportunities for people to partake in their recreational sports. So it's, yeah, basically, I think this all came out around maybe a little bit after the Sunday shopping thing all started, but probably part of that.
That's what was one of my points, though, too, was the sporting aspect of it that I mentioned, that to play soccer on a Sunday or play hockey on a Sunday or to go hunting on a Sunday, I believe it makes no difference. And yeah, it was probably a religious thing at one time that, you know, you didn't, at one time you weren't allowed to darn socks on Sunday. That was a thing. And we've thrown that right out the window, too, because if you want to talk about God's day, and that's fine, and being with God on a Sunday, I'll tell you, I probably feel the closest sitting in a tree stand in a bush where there's no one around to God, opposed to anywhere else on a Sunday morning. Thanks.
Please, Councillor Reid. Sorry, this is turning into longer than 5 minutes, Danielle.
My question might be more for our clerk than the delegation, but in 2016, when we had looked at this, we had a public consultation, it looks like, where we asked opinions of the community. Is that something that would be considered in changing a bylaw now, to have that public input from others that are pro and maybe some that are against, or maybe none that are against in this circumstance?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, certainly council could have another delegation where people are invited to give their opinions, and after that, council could consider a bylaw. But there's always a chance in this industry for us to invite everybody that has a say.
Answers your question? Okay.
Do you have the data from that last time that you sent that out? If I go by memory, there was about 80 emails that went to you, to the council, that were all for it. And at that public hearing, there was about 20 people there that were for it, and about 4 people that were against. And that's where the decision was made on that. So just wondering if you wanted to repeat that, I guess.
We could you know what, actually 2016 doesn't matter, we're in 2024 now. So if it's something that council's interested in reviewing, we can probably look past that and do an independent review this time around, to be honest. But we could probably dig it up if it's of interest. Any other questions or comments from council? Okay, so how it works right now, just for complete clarity, we're receiving this report for information, which means thank you for your presentation. Any other sort of motions or requests, council is more than welcome at any point to create that. You want to do that now? Sure. That works. Councillor Ottens. Mr. Clerk, you got a pen?
Not sure how it's worded. Well, make a motion that staff reviews our bylaw to allow Sunday gun hunting, or how would we word that?
I think we get the gist.
Yeah. Short but sweet. Just like me.
I heard that.
I'll just read it, Councillor Ottens. You can let me know if I misunderstood. Moved by Councillor Ottens that Township of Mapleton Council advise staff to review our bylaw to allow Sunday gun hunting.
Do we have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Reid? Yeah.
By doing that, we're also allowing that to come back to us again to be reviewed, correct?
That's correct. That's your intention, Councillor Ottens?
Yep.
Any questions on that? Do you want me to repeat it? Okay, all those in favor of Councillor Ottens' motion? And that is carried. Back to the original. That the Township of Mapleton received for information the delegation of Ray Cooper regarding the request to change Mapleton's Sunday gun hunting bylaw. Any questions regarding that? Great, all in favor? And that's carried as well. Thank you for your time. And Danielle, thank you for your time and patience. That was just over 5 minutes. Please, I apologize for the wait.
So I'll try to keep it short and sweet. As I mentioned, thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of council, to have me here today. My name is Danielle Tivoli. I am a consultant with Hemson Consulting, and we have been retained to undertake the 2024 development charges background study and associated bylaw. Next slide. Tonight is the statutory public meeting required by Section 12 of the Development Charges Act. The DC background study was made publicly available on May 10th, and the DC draft bylaw was made publicly available on May 28th. Today we'll discuss the background and some legislative context in light of some legislative changes. We'll talk about some details from the background study, like the development forecast and the capital program. We'll then review the calculated DC rates and some rate comparisons, and then move on to next steps after this public meeting. What are development charges? Development charges are imposed on development to pay for growth-related capital costs. Development charges intend to pay for new infrastructure and facilities to maintain service levels in the township. And the principle behind development charges is growth pays for growth. So the DC legislation has changed significantly in recent years. This has been explained previously by my colleague in presentations at council, but to review, government's priority recently has been to address affordability and to build more homes. The Bill 23 was probably the most recent piece of legislation that had the largest impact. So this included exemptions for existing rentals, residential intensification, and nonprofit housing, discounts for purpose-built rentals, and a phase-in of all new DC rates over 5 years. Bill 185, which only received royal assent last week on June 6th, peeled back some of the requirements of Bill 23. This includes removal of the mandatory 5-year phase-in, and including for growth-related or development-related studies reintroduced as a DC-eligible cost. We anticipated this service being eligible for development charges, and we have included for this rate in the rates that you will see throughout this presentation. This also includes for DC exemptions for affordable and attainable housing. So this was introduced in November of 2022, but only became in force as of June 1st, pertaining to affordable exemptions. There is no definition or mention of attainable housing at this time. This figure shows the development charges study process. I will summarize it. So step 1 is to develop a development forecast of growth throughout the township. We also need to compile a historic service level of services that are provided by the township. From there, we're able to understand what the infrastructure needs are in the township, as well as the cost of this infrastructure. We then make a series of reductions, including for grants, and any portion of costs that relate to benefit of existing residents in the township. We then get to our costs for eligible for development charges, which are broken down by per unit charges for the residential sector and per square meter of gross floor area for the non-residential sector. This table summarizes our development forecast, or step 1 of the process. You can see here that we have outlined 2 planning periods, one to 2033, or 10 years, and a longer-term period to 2051. The 10-year period for general services includes for library, fire, and other services that I'll outline on the next slide. The engineered services to 2051 includes for water and wastewater in alignment with the new master plan for the township. So in summary, we're going to see on the residential side about 500 new dwellings in the next 10 years and about 1,500 new dwellings by 2051. That can also be shown as about 1,200 new people in the next 10 years and about 3,600 new people by 2051. On the non-residential side, we can see that we're going to have a potential increase of 800 new employees accommodated in about 80,000 square meters of new building space in the next 10 years, and about 1,700 new employees accommodated in 170,000 new square meters of building space by 2051. This slide outlines the capital program. This is detailed in the development charges background study by service, And here we can see what I was referring to by the 10-year general services, which include for fire protection, parks and recreation, development-related studies, and roads and related services, and the water and wastewater to 2051. As you can see here, we've identified about $100 million of gross costs of infrastructure needs. We have then reduced for available grants that are expected, and a significant portion for benefit to existing residents, almost $53 million. The township has about $1 million in available reserves or previously collected development charges that can be used towards these projects, leaving about just over $45 million of costs eligible for development charges. You can see a small portion related to fire protection services have been outlined as other development related, and this is just due to oversizing or a benefit outside the 10-year period. The main takeaway from this is that we have identified about $100 million of costs and are only reducing it to $45 million of recovery as it is eligible. This brings us to our calculated rates for residential development charges. Should note this represents the maximum charge council can impose. The new calculated rate for single or semi-detached units is $32,272, other multiples at $22,780, and apartments at $16,136. The pie chart to the right shows the breakdown of the charge related to each service. You can see here about 3/4 of the charge is related to hard infrastructure, such as water, wastewater, and roads. This shows a comparison of the current development charges being charged in the township currently to the calculated charge. So the current charge in the township is $18,450. This represents an increase of about $13,822 or 75%. We can see that the large portion of the increase is related to the Parks and Recreation charge, as we've included for a new facility provision in the study, which has been reviewed by council previously. The residential rate comparison is comparable to other municipalities and shows the rates for single detached units. So we can see here that Mapleton is on the lower end of the charges currently. And with this update, if the new charge that we've calculated is imposed, it will move it to more middle of the pack to comparable municipalities. I should note that the green part of the bar is related to the upper tier charge for the municipality, and the gold bar is for the lower tier charge. The calculated non-residential charge is $78.55, and it is a uniform charge across the township. The pie chart also shows the breakdown of this, and it follows the same methodology as the residential, and about 3/4 of the charge is related to the hard services. So here shows the comparison of current versus calculated development charges for the non-residential. The current non-residential development charge in the township is $61.46, and comparing to the calculated charge of $78.55 per square meter, this is an increase of $17.09 or 28%. So we can see there's less of an increase compared to the residential charge due to the fact that Parks and Recreation is not charged on the non-residential sector. This rate comparison follows the same methodology with the gold and the green. And we can see that Mapleton is, again, on the lower end of the charges in comparable municipalities. And this will move it slightly higher if you were to impose the calculated rates that we've provided here today. I should note that a lot of small municipalities, such as North Perth, shown in this chart, do not charge non-residential fees. So there are some municipalities that may not charge non-residential development charges. Moving to some policy items, we have reviewed and updated the 2024 DC bylaw, development charge bylaw, and we've included for some new legislative requirements due to Bill 23 and some updating of definitions due to other new legislation. So all exemptions and discounts, including for accessory uses, bona fide farms, places of worship, and temporary buildings and redevelopment, have been unchanged and maintained. In closing, this slide represents our DC study, our development charge study timeline, and what we have done thus far and what the next steps will be. We released the study on statutory timeline on May 10th. We released a notice of public meeting for the statutory public meeting on May 22nd. Today is our statutory public meeting for the development charges on June 11th, and we are hoping to pass the new DC bylaw for July 9th. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of council. My colleague Stefan and I would be happy to take any questions from members of the public or members of council. Thank you.
Thank you, Danielle. Any questions from council regarding the Hemson report? Councillor Ottens?
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Has there been any public comment, given that this has been out in the public from developers maybe, or someone else?
Mr. Clerk?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, nothing at all yet, no. The advertising's all been done, and even the new bylaw's been advertised.
Any other questions from council? I've got one, and it's to you three, and it's going to show that I missed a meeting. But the Parks and Recreation charges, the fees that are included in this DC, I believe I missed a discussion on it. So when we first talked about creating a new facility and we went to the public and got their, feedback on what they wanted or didn't want, it was always contingent on a grant coming through. Didn't get the grant, obviously. So did council have a discussion and make a decision on that project would still happen regardless of the absence of grant funding? Because that would be, I'm not asking you to do quick math, Danielle, but if that 13 million was not there, would that 75% residential charge obviously look different? Do you know what percentage that is off the top of your head?
Through you, Mr. Chair, that was our, when we came to council on March 19th, we did bring forward what that calculation would be. So it is, I believe, Stefan, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I believe around 10 million, which is considered a benefit to existing residents, which therefore would be a township charge. We've only brought forward what we believe to be the new space or eligible for development charges. So the charges you're seeing today and reflected in the background study represents the council intention to move forward with this facility regardless of the grant not coming through at this time. So that's why it's represented as a higher rate. There was a resolution at that time, and I do have it handy if you would like to hear it.
I should have just asked you instead of these three. You've got all the information. Okay, thank you. That answers that question. So we voted on it here. There's a resolution, and we're moving forward regardless of grant. Okay. Sorry, looping back around. Any further questions? Councillor Tamlin?
Yeah, just to follow up on your question, then the thought was then that can be re-looked at and actually changed. It's not kind of written in stone, and we can come back and reevaluate that based on more successful funding and partnerships or whatever that comes forth.
Thank you for that context, both of you. All right. Where did I put that resolution? I read it already. Any further comments or questions regarding receiving the Hemson Consulting Report for information? Okay, put that to question. All those in favor? All right, and that's carried. Thank you so much for your time and for your presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of council.
Okay, next up, minutes from committees. We have Resolution moved by Councillor Reid, seconded by Councillor Ottens, that the Township of Mapleton Council receive for information the Joint Accessibility Advisory Committee draft minutes of May 2nd. I don't believe we have a township rep on that committee, correct? We do? You're on that one. Any comments regarding that, the minutes of that committee?
To you, Mayor. I was actually absent for that meeting, so I don't have much to comment on about that. But when it comes to AODA, we're obviously always trying to improve that in the township. And then when it comes to the proposed playground, we are going to be circulating them on the design for that for some input as well. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Don't go far. All those in favor of receiving those minutes? That's carried. All right, Mr. Schwarzentuber, you are up for the building department. This is where we start moving along quickly. At the Township of Mapleton, Council received for information the building department report BD 2024-08 regarding June 11th, dated June 11th, 2024, regarding the May month end and the year to date. Mr. Schwarzentuber.
Thank you, Mayor. And council, as you can see, we were busy this month issuing permits. We issued 52. A lot of them not super huge paying permits because we don't have a lot of house development going on right now, and we're waiting on some big industrial permits. But a lot of those were some fairly easy ones, bunker silos and silos that's less than a day turnaround. So I was trying to look at things like if we get it out the day that they apply, is it a negative day in our issuance times? No, likely not, but yeah, we are, like, those are very quick turnarounds. Coming up, though, we will have some industrial developments shortly coming in, hopefully. Okay. Any questions?
No, busy's good. Thank you for your report. All those in favor of receiving this report? That's carried. Next, CAO Clerk's Department. Resolution moved by Councillor Reid, seconded by Councillor Ottens, that the Township of Mapleton Council receive for information Clerk's Report CL 2024-07 regarding the Township's Council and Committee Meeting Calendar 2025. And further, that Council adopts the Township of Mapleton Council and Committee Meeting, that's a lot, Calendar 2025 as presented. Which one of you, Larry?
In front of you, it looks like it's falling together nicely, but it does have perhaps some shortcomings, and it doesn't include department head conferences. If I was to add them, almost every department has one. Building has OBOA, planning has OACA, finance has MFOA, the CIO's office has OMAA, and the clerk's office has AMCTO. So it is a much busier schedule than it looks, just that the staff conventions aren't on there. And if you overlay that one pager with the commitment that council has made to the budgeting process, it then, I think, reflects the importance of getting this out 6 months in advance. So that's what I have.
Copy that. We appreciate you doing that. Any comments from council regarding the calendar? All those in favor? Carried. Close to home. Motion moved by Councillor Otten, seconded by Councillor Tamlin. The Township of Mapleton Council received close to home report CTH 2024-01 dated June 11th regarding the compliance declaration Ontario Health West, and further that council authorized the mayor and CAO or director of finance to execute the declaration of compliance and any or all ancillary documents. Ms. Edwards, any comments on that? Any comments from council? Told you this is where we start moving fast. All those in favor of receiving this? And authorizing, not just receiving. All right, that's carried. Moved by Councillor Tamlin, seconded by Councillor Ottens, that the Township of Mapleton receive for information close to home report, second one dated June 11th, regarding the annual reconciliation report, and further the council authorize the mayor and the clerk to execute all certification document pertaining to the annual reconciliation report and any or all ancillary documents. Comments from council? All those in favor? That's carried. That was easy. Moving on to the Finance Department. Moved by Ottens, seconded by Tamlin, that the Township of Mapleton receive the Finance Report number 13 dated June 11th regarding the application for tile loan Form 6, and further the Township of Mapleton approve the application for tile loan Form 6 for property located at South Part Lot 6, Concession 2, the former Township of Maryborough, to the amount of $50,000, provided that the funds are available from the province. James, anything from you on this, or is that finance? Nothing? That's you. Tiles, oh, this is the grant, this is the loan, yes. Anything further?
Through you, your mayor. No, not really. There's, it's just the second loan that this person has received this year, but it's in compliance with the ministry there, and so it's fine, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Heather. Comments, concerns from council? All those in favor of receiving the report? That's carried. Planning Department, moved by Tamlin, seconded by Ottens, that the council of the Township of Mapleton support consent application B44/24 as presented on lands described as Part Lot 1, Concession 12 appeal, with the following conditions: that the owner satisfy all the requirements of the local municipality, financial and otherwise, for the proper and orderly development of the subject lands, including but not limited to outstanding taxes. That payment be made of the fee of $420 or whatever fee is applicable at the time of clearance under the fees and charges bylaw for a letter of clearance. That a copy of the deposited reference plan be submitted to the township, hard and digital. And further, that council authorizes the planning and development manager to file with the secretary treasurer of the Planning and Land Division Committee at the County of Wellington a letter of clearance of these conditions on completion of the same. Any comments regarding the SAMUS application from the Planning Department? Any questions from council? All those in favor? And that's carried. Bylaws. Moved by Otten, seconded by Tamlin, that the bylaw numbered 2024-029, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 2010-080, being a zoning bylaw for the Township of Mapleton, be hereby read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed this 11th day of June 2024. Questions regarding this bylaw? All those in favor? That's carried. Do I need to sign all those at some point then? Okay. Any articles under correspondence for council's information that council wishes to support or discuss? Okay, moving on then to notice of provision. We don't need to talk about that, right? It was just that it's in the advertiser. Okay. Next resolution under other business. Moved by Councillor Tamlin, seconded by Councillor Ottens. Be it resolved that the Township of Mapleton Council nominates Amanda Reed, Councillor, for the position of Rural Caucus Director on the AMO Board of Directors for the 2024-2026 term. Reed, do you want to talk about that?
Thank you, through you. I have asked for support for nominating to the AMO Board of Directors. AMO, as we all know, works with municipal governments to make us stronger, more effective, and they work with all municipalities for common challenges and goals that we all face. And I think having someone from Mapleton sit on the Rural Caucus is important, and it allows us to have a bit of a voice there as well. So I'm just looking for support from council to go ahead with the nomination.
Thank you. I'm super stoked to be part of nominating you. I think it's high time someone from Mapleton was on the board for AMO. So the one part, I forget the page number, expenses that go along with this type of thing, it's something we may need to budget for. I think the township is responsible for any sort of auxiliary expenses that may come that AMO doesn't cover. So, I mean, if you're successful, we can certainly look at including that in the budget discussions for the following year, but just as an awareness for council that that is part of the support as well, so I'll vote for you when it comes time. So you got at least 3 votes. Any other questions regarding this? All those in favor? Carried. Is this it? Yeah. All right. Finally, the confirmatory bylaw. Oh, I'm sorry. We were in other business, weren't we? I'm sorry, any other business to discuss?
Yes, me. Yes, thank you. So this is from Safe Communities. So we, on Friday, July 5, from 11 till 2, we have our annual awareness, it's National Injury Prevention Day. That's just July 5. And green is the color. I don't know why, but anyone who wears green is kind of encouraged to come out as kids and adults. I think you've gone in the past. Now, it's been at a la mode in the past. Now, this year we're moving it. We're making it a little bit more of a little mini safety day kind of thing. It's going to be on the fire department, and they're going to participate as well. And there'll be sort of someone has to say something, a child has to say one thing to prevent injury, and then their name goes in a draw, and they also get a coupon for an ice cream yet for a la mode. And then the draw will be for a certificate from Dobbins. So encouraging them to buy something safety-oriented, but they can buy whatever they want if they win. So, yeah, that's Friday, July 5, from 11 till 2, downtown Drayton. Wear green.
Thank you for that. Councillor Tamlin?
Through you there, Chair. I just want to just to report briefly on the FCM conference that I've just returned from. So myself and Mayor Davison went on to the conference in Calgary. It was excellent and very full for many reasons. Some of the highlights there were, one was a Q&A with the Prime Minister. It was expected to be quite a lively debate. We were all asked to behave ourselves during that, but it was very insightful. The fact it was FCM, that there's a big emphasis on their green municipal funding programs, and they announced a few new initiatives as well and talked us through that in detail, which was great. It was great meeting with the Ontario Caucus Board members and getting to vote on that. Sadly, Greg wasn't re-elected for board during that. And also, rural Ontario was very underrepresented in the board selections. So that was a bit disappointing. Other things, yeah, otherwise it was great networking, great to get to know other neighbouring municipalities and councillors and share the work we're doing. So, yeah, very positive.
Oh, that's great. Sounds like a great time.
Yeah.
Any other business from anyone else? All right, that brings us to a close. Councillor Otten, seconded by Councillor Tamlin, that bylaw 2024-030 being a bylaw to confirm all actions and proceedings of the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Mapleton be hereby read a first, second, and third time, signed by the mayor and the clerk, and sealed with the corporate seal. All those in favor? We are adjourned.